Hey, Raymond here. Welcome to the Beginner Photography Podcast. Guess what? We have another community spotlight interview just for you. And this month it is with Jim Sinicki, who has been in the group for quite a while, long time, 2+ years now. And he has really kind of carved out a position for himself as a contributing member of the group. He's more than happy to give feedback. He's more than happy to share some of his photos. He's always asking questions. And if there's anybody in the group who you can tell continually not only wants to build their photography, like get better as a photographer, but also wants to help others achieve that exact same dream as well, he's the one who's going to be in there to help. He has a really great outlook on not only life, but obviously, part of building that community within the group. And he has just been a huge part of the growth that we have had as the Beginner Photography Podcast because, this podcast cannot happen with just me talking to other people. It simply can't happen. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Part of what makes the Beginner Photography Podcast so great is the community that has been built around it. It's you who have showed up week after week to listen to the podcast. And not only that, but then, join the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook community and encourage others and help others and just be there for support and, get your questions answered in a place that is judgmental. There's no sort of rudeness allowed. There's a no rudeness policy because we truly understand that everybody is at a different spot in their photography journey, and there's no reason to make somebody feel a certain way just because they don't know everything about photography. That's ridiculous. We all have to start somewhere, and it's you who have created this community that I'm so proud to be a part of. To hang out with you all and chat with you every single day. So this is this community spotlight series is kind of my way of learning more about you because as I said to Jim actually before we started recording, there's a bit of a gap, because typically the people who I interview on the podcast are established photographers, people who have been doing it for a long time. And when I ask them about their beginnings, it's very much like, grew up with a camera in my hands, loved it, yada yada yada. Now I'm a professional photographer. And it's that yada 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 that I want to know more about. And I know that you want to know more about as well. Like, how did you make these things happen? And that is all of the community spotlight interviews are designed to be with those of you in the community who are in the middle of that yada 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 right now. Maybe you don't know all the answers, but you didn't just get the camera yesterday. You kind of know what you're doing and you're working towards something. So that is what these are, and hopefully you can enjoy them. Hopefully you can put a sound or a face to a name here on Facebook, when you're checking it out. And I hope that you enjoy. So with that, let's go ahead and get on into this interview with Jim Sinicki. Jim, you've been a member of the Facebook group for like more than 2 years now, which is awesome. So congratulations. I appreciate you being in the group and being such a contributing member as much as you are. And it's been cool that over the past 2 years, I've been able to see like your progression, not only like in your photography and like the questions that you were asking early on versus the questions that you're asking now, but also like to see you start a business, and like all these things
Yep.
are so cool to be able to see your growth. And now that you've been doing this for a few years, I want to know, like, take me back to those early days, right? This is that first question. Like, I really want to know, what was it about photography for you, like in the beginning, that you thought like, this is awesome and I want to do more of this?
Yeah. So, big reveal here. Past guest Martin Moore. I actually started watching his photography, and I didn't know how to use a camera back then. But I started watching his photography, and I thought to myself, he's pretty good at this. I wonder if I can do that. I'm pretty good at figuring some stuff out. So let me see what I can do. So I always actually tried to strive to be like him early on. And I really just kind of found myself over editing things just to try to match his style. Um, yeah. So I'm sorry, what was the question? I kind of rambled on there.
It was so you saw Martin's photography and you liked it. You said, I can kind of figure this out.
Yeah.
But what was it? Because a lot of people see beautiful photos online, but they don't think, oh, maybe I could do that, or I'm going to do that, or take the action to do that. So what was it about his work or photography in
Yeah.
general that made you go on and do it?
So I've never seen Milwaukee the way that Marty did. It looked beautiful. It looked colorful. It looked vibrant. It looked like people loved being there. Over the last few years, like Milwaukee has just been kind of drab and just not as fun as it used to be like when I was growing up. So to see it the way that he saw it, I wanted to just almost recreate that for myself.
Gotcha. Okay, so you the idea there in the beginning was, let me see. So you're gonna have this camera, and you want to kind of, was it to recreate what it was that you saw as a kid, or simply put yourself or make yourself a staple in Milwaukee to be that place to what it was like when you were a kid?
To be honest with you, I think it was more out publicly. I think it was more I wanted to just bring back those memories of being a kid. But I think inside it wanted to be me more being a staple in Milwaukee and trying to
Mm-hmm.
make a name for myself out there. And then yeah,
What is it about Milwaukee? Like, you know, you grew up there, but like, t- now here is your time
yeah,
to tell the world, like, this is why Milwaukee's the best. What is it about Milwaukee?
yeah. All right, so Milwaukee is the little city that could. We are. Everybody thinks that we're like the little brother of Chicago, who just can't do anything to get out of its own way. But Milwaukee's got a heart of a lion. Honestly, we don't quit. We work hard. We struggle through the winters. We enjoy the summers. We have the best music here. Summerfest is going on in the summertime. We have the best beer. So if you ever want to come down to Milwaukee or up to Milwaukee, that's the place to be. Trust me, I could take you around. Great food and just really great people all around. And I think I really wanted to try to celebrate that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
then now you have this mission. You want to capture Milwaukee as if, you know, to show off that it is, you know, heaven on earth, you could say. So
Mhm.
you got the camera. What happened?
Well, after that, my wife and I, we got pregnant, and a little inside baseball for a lot of people here. We tried really hard to get pregnant for quite a few years, and when we found out we were pregnant, I decided I was going to be not the mom photographer, the mom photographer as I call it, but I wanted to be the dad photographer. So when my kid was born, it just quickly turned into I want to take pictures of my son. I want to take these pictures and remember it all from there. And then as he got a little bit older, I was like, I can do this for other people, and I can try to build my business that way. So that's kind of where I am now.
Did you think from the beginning that you wanted to definitely have a business, like when you first got that camera, or did it evolve into that?
I mean, I think everybody who picks up the camera wants to start a business right away. Like that's the first thing to think of. It's not how can I shoot the camera, how can I learn aperture, how can I learn to focus something better. It's how can I quickly make money off of this, and nobody really thinks of how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think when people first pick up that camera, they think, "Oh, I wonder how I can, or how to make money with this"?
Oh, we live in the Instagram, the YouTube lifestyle right now. So everybody just sees these nobodies who make it big on YouTube, and they think they're making millions of dollars, and they think they can do that for themselves.
Do you think that, like, let me see, what's the question I'm trying to think of here? I guess I'm just trying to get into your head as far as like how deep down the rabbit hole did you see yourself going when you first got the camera, or was it really like, no, like how much of it that developed?
Um, I think like everybody else, I went pretty deep down the rabbit hole at first. I was, just how can I get these amazing shots, and how does lighting work? And the best and worst thing that happened to me was I put my photography online for people to see it, because that was a kick in the pants. That was reality coming back to me saying, dude, you kind of suck at this. So
No, 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 hold on. What do you mean? Like, talk me through that. What does that mean?
it well basically, you think that you take these amazing photos, and then like you kind of put up against everybody else because you don't know what you're doing, and you see that and you say to yourself, my photos are not nearly as good as this. Like nobody has come out and said like your photos suck, but when you see them lined up to somebody who's been shooting for 5, 10, 15 years versus you who think you're awesome at 3 months in, it's reality. You realize that you don't know as much as you think you do, so take a few steps back.
But if you haven't been shooting for 5 or 10 years, like, how is that an equal measurement, for you to compare your work against somebody
it's
else's?
It's not. It's definitely not. But you don't know that going in. You just see these amazing photos, and you think, "That's a great photo. Why
Mhm.
can't mine look like that?" And
Right.
it's because you don't know the exposure triangle. You don't know how to edit photos. I still don't know how to edit photos. I've been doing this for a couple of years, like you said, and that's my biggest struggle still.
Yeah. Well, then, let's stay back there at the beginning. You know, when you first started uploading your photos, and you realized there was that gap essentially between your photos and say somebody who's been shooting for 5-10 years.
Mhm.
Like, what do you think that was? Where did that come from? Like, what were you struggling with or lacking technically? Do you think?
So when I first started, it was everything. It was composition. It was the exposure triangle. It was even knowing the terminology. Like when somebody says f-stop, I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like what does that mean? Mine goes to 5.6. Is that good? No. Okay. Well, how do I change that?
Hmm.
So it's just a lot of learning. It's knowing that you don't know what you don't know.
So, where do you learn?
Right here. Honestly, I tell people all the time, like I always tell people, I say, if you want to learn, go see Raymond Hatfield and the Beginner Photography podcast, because I swear to you, I learned everything I know in photography because of you and the people in this group.
First of all, that's crazy because you have to like take you like this is gonna sound like the worst like humble brag ever, but like I get emails from people saying like, hey, thanks so much, like the podcast has really helped me learn photography, and my response is always like, I didn't do anything. Like, you're the one who has the camera. Like, anybody can listen
Yeah.
to it. I'll tell you, I watch like like shows on how to build tiny homes and like how to build race cars. I could watch those all day, but I don't do any of those things. It's
Oh yeah.
it's you who takes the action to go out and do those things. So
Well,
say that. Go on. I'm sorry.
no, I'd say 100%. I mean, you can join the group and listen and look at pictures all you want to, but you're not going to learn if you don't ask those questions.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
think, like you said at the beginning here, my questions back then versus where they are now are completely different because, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I was asking the same questions that every new person asks when they come in. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's how we all learned.
Right. Okay. So you come into the group. You're asking questions. What do you think was one of the biggest moments for you when it comes to learning photography? Like, was there this moment for you where it was just like, oh my gosh, like all of this fits together now. Like this is starting to make sense. When you're trying to grab a
Yeah.
picture. Did you get that moment?
Yeah. So I struggled so hard to learn the exposure triangle. I'm not good at math at all. Like not even close to math magician here. So I listened to one of your episodes very early on, and you guys were breaking down the exposure triangle. I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. Let's see if we can figure this out. So I listened to the podcast, and I probably worked on it for half a day, an entire day, and it finally just clicked. I was like, wait, this goes along with this, which means if I change this one, I got to change this one. If I change these two, I have to change this one as well. And that's how it all started turning.
So, oh my gosh, I love that. Once again, I mean, you listened to it, you took action, and I can tell you that by the statistics, almost 10,000 people a month download like those first few episodes of the podcast on the exposure triangle. But the amount of people, again, who actually like get out and do something is like super small. Like, so I
Yeah.
love to not only hear that for one, you did go out and do that, but then you continued to like be in the group and continued to like share your successes, with the photos that you were taking. So aside from, the questions that you were asking, was there anything else that you were doing in terms of education? Were you like getting books? Was it YouTube? Like where did the growth come from for you?
So I tried to read the books on it, but I'm going to tell you right now, boring. I almost fell asleep in all of them, and I know you're the same way as I am. 'Cause I think you talked about that a couple of times, about
Very
your
much
book
so,
learning.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So then I started picking up YouTube, and of all people, like Jared Polin has some really good stuff. Like if you sign up for his stuff, he's got like shooting a low light and how to do your how to go to from automatic to manual. And I just kind of picked up bits and pieces from that, and then just also talking to people in like photography podcast groups and all sorts of different Facebook groups, and just asking questions and just really trying to hone myself there. And you talked about, how I shared my successes. The big thing is I try to share my failures as well, because if I'm failing at something, somebody else is also going to fail at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, then the group has been just amazing to jump in and say, well, we've had that problem too, and here's how we fixed it. So when I tried it again, I would go back out and make these little changes uh, and make it a little bit better the next time.
Well, I love that. Let's talk about that more. Like, tell me about some of those failures for you. Did you have one that really stood out and helped you progress quicker than? I'm not. I'm just gonna stop. Did you have one failure that like you really learned a lot from?
My first failure, I did a maternity shoot for a friend, and I thought the photos were pretty good. Some of them, I still use them all. But there were a lot of like composition failures, and Kimberly Irish actually kind of walked me through a few of them. And one of them was she explained to me the doctor view of a maternity shoot, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally get that. Now I know why I don't want to put the camera right where I put it, because it's not a very good view. Um, Physically, in that shoot, the very first shot that we set up, I backed up into the lake and
No,
fell in.
like you walked it. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
yeah. So that sucked.
that is a great way to start off a shoot, right? And then
Yeah.
just tell them like, well, now we're gonna be real careful about
Oh
this.
yeah. And if anybody knows the water in Lake Michigan around Milwaukee, around the Summerfest grounds, like it's not good. There's all sorts of garbage, and we won't even get into it. But I smelled awful for a little while,
Jeez.
so that was fun.
Did you ever get any referrals from that couple at all?
I did actually. I did.
Really,
And it worked out
despite
pretty
the
well.
smelly garbage and that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, I mean, I gave them the best photos that I had. I
Yeah.
didn't give them the garbage. So, and really, that's all that matters. So,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course, that's hilarious. So now that okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about transitioning into what you got now, which is Charlie James Photo. Can you tell me about Charlie James Photo and like what's the mission that you got, because I love it.
Yeah. So Charlie James Photo is actually named after my son, Charlie. Um, Again, main reason I'm still shooting is because I want to take those memories of my son being young and just growing up. Um, the the big thing that I've been telling people right now, it's kind of turned into my motto, is turn your moments into memories. Uh, and it's kind of from your slogan as well. But I figured it's so good, I use it myself. Just kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
make some tweaks off that. So in Greendale, yeah, exactly, yeah. So in Greendale, I've been kind of talked about a lot as the guy who doesn't just uh, take the photos. He actually like wants to, I want to get to know my clients. I send them all questionnaires. And I talk to them. I talk to them before the shoots and just kind of get to know them that way a little bit. And then even after the shoots, I still stay in contact with them, even if they don't want to book with me anymore. Say, you know what? Hey, we shared this moment together. We're connected no matter what now. And it makes for a better session. It makes it more personable.
Tell me more about that. Like, where did you get these ideas to make your sessions more personable?
I, to be honest with you, I love people. It may sound crazy, but I actually like people. I like just talking to people. I like getting to know people and get inside people's heads. In my professional life, my 9 to 5, I am a fraud investigator. So I deal with some of the worst people that you could probably ever imagine. So getting to know people face to face, just on a personal level, it's great for me. It's a whole big different change. And I love that part of
Mm-hmm.
the whole game.
I would imagine that most times at like a session, people aren't specifically trying to lie to you and deceive you like they would in your
Right.
your normal job. Yeah, so it must be like this breath of fresh air. Like, oh, this is fantastic, and I'm getting
It's
paid to be here and
Yeah,
and shoot. This is awesome.
exactly. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me how you plan to like where you plan to take Charlie James Photo, because, or I guess like what is it that you do? You have a primary focus with Charlie James Photo, or are you shooting a little bit of everything right now? How's that going for you?
So I've been shooting a little bit of everything right now, just because of the COVID lockdown. I've been trying to keep my family safe and other people safe as well. We both have people who are high risk in my family, on her side and on my side. my wife's side and my side, I should say. So we've been kind of doing my own thing for a little while, just shooting like a lot of streets. I've been learning a lot of shutter exposures, or I'm sorry, long exposures, I should say. So that's been a lot of fun. I actually met up with a guy who became a really good friend of mine, who's a photographer, and he taught me how to do some long exposure, and he taught me like the tricks of it, and how to set up for night shots and along the lake. So that's been a lot of fun. But anyways, the the main point of Charlie James is family photography. Senior photos has been really big for me lately. Something I love to do. Yeah, just kind of celebrating the everyday with Charlie James Photo.
Celebrating the everyday with Charlie. So now,
Every day.
oh my gosh, I love that. Celebrating the everyday with Charlie James Photo. That should be. You need a client to like tell you that, so that can be like the testimonial on your website with like a giant canvas or something behind them. Yeah.
I know. And you know, the worst part about this whole COVID thing is like I couldn't get any kind of testimonials lately because like nobody's been wanting to shoot. So I'm using testimonials from like a year and a half ago. So I really need to get that going. But I have some sessions booked up coming up in the next month or two, so we should be all right.
Awesome. Talk to me about weddings. Weddings isn't something that you want to do, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, you and Kim and Kara, you guys are tough, man, because I could not handle a wedding on my own. There's no way I could do that. I shot a very small 4-person wedding last year, and I was nervous just for that one. And it was just shooting portraits. I was like, if I screw this up, like they're gonna be pissed at me. So to get like a 6-month plan going on, there is just no way I could do that.
I think you could. I don't think that you're giving yourself enough credit.
Okay,
you know,
let me rephrase that. I don't think I'd want to do that because I don't want to screw up somebody's big day. Like my wife and I, we had a very small wedding because like we're not like the big to do people. So like when other people do it, it's crazy to think like this is what they're spending their money on.
Yeah. Well, you know, what is it? I forgot who said it, but so, you know, there's a very popular, I guess it's phrase, I guess, or a sentiment in business that like you are not your ideal client, right?
Yeah.
So me and my wife, I mean, we had a small wedding as well. It was actually it was supposed to be an outdoor wedding, but it rained. So like last minute, it was kind of amazing. Everybody came together, and we found my wife's grandma was in the automotive union. So like the union hall was like, you can just have the union hall and like have your wedding here. And we're nice. Like, okay, like, yeah, it's raining outside. But yeah, I mean, it was not a wedding that like we didn't even have a wedding photographer. Like we just hired like my friend from California. I paid for his plane ticket to come out. And now like I look at the weddings that like I go to, and I think to myself, like, I can't believe the people are doing this. Like, this is crazy. But, you know, I think when we can separate ourselves from the service that we deliver, it becomes a whole lot easier to do that, you know, and to be able to deliver just great stuff. I don't know where I was going with that. I guess that was just a story about my life. And
yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, you have to separate your personal thoughts from the business. Absolutely. I don't know if I could do that in that situation. Like, so there's a really good wedding photography company that did my friend's wedding, and she told me that she paid $15,000 for it, and I'm just like, that would be awesome to do. I would love to charge that much money, but man, that is a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of pressure to nail every single shot.
True, yeah. However, there was a study that went out above like for like the top 10% of like CEOs, like the top 10 highest earning CEOs in the country, and it was an anonymous question that was asked. I'm just really bad with remembering all these facts right here, but I think the question was like, what's the one thing that you're most scared of? And remember, it's like high level, I mean, multi hundreds of $1 million CEOs. And the number one answer that came back from just about all of them was that people would figure out that they have no idea what they're doing.
Exactly.
You know? And I think that we all kind of can take something away from that when it comes to photography, specifically because, you know, we're not, these greats in the world, but we do have something to say, and everybody has our own unique voice, and we can create something for anybody. But this has turned into me talking to you, and I apologize for that. I
That's
do
what we do. It's cool.
I just, I feel real like comfortable around you, and like it's fun to talk, and we always have like this banter, and especially about like Dodgers and the Brewers. So I appreciate all that. And again, there I go. But let's keep talking about your photography and your business. No, let's go back to photography, because one of the main reasons that you wanted to get into photography obviously was to capture and document Milwaukee, but also when your son was born, to document that process. Can you talk to me about the process of documenting your son's growth as a human? Like what are your views on that? How do you see taking photos of your son?
Yeah, just documenting that growth is just amazing. So the other day I was going through photos and I was looking, because you get like your Instagram photos where it says this is your photo from 3 years ago today. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like my son was 9 pounds at that
Right.
point. And you look at him now, it's just like the way he's grown. Like he's reading now, and it's wild to me. At 3 years old, he's reading. He's got his own imagination, and I'm really happy as a dad that I got to not only witness that myself, but also document that entire thing. Just do photos and video. It's really important. The one thing though, if I can put a regret in there, my grandfather, when he was in World War II, he picked up a camera and he documented these amazing photos. And like, I still look at them every once in a while, like when I go to my parents' house, just because like it's through his own eyes. But when he died maybe about 10 years ago, we realized we don't see many photos of just him. And I'm like, that's really weird, but it's because he was behind the camera. And over his last 3 years, I'm looking at these pictures of my son, and I'm like, that's my son, and that's awesome. It's great to see him, but I'm behind the camera, so I don't get to see very much of me with him in that situation. So that's kind of long-winded there, but yeah.
So what are you going to do about
that? Pass my camera to my wife. Let her document it for a little while. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, it's hard because like now he wants to learn how to take pictures, and every time I bring up the camera, it's like, Daddy, I want to push the button. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So I got my Sony A7 III out, and he's just firing away at the pictures, and he's just happy. I'm like, well, I can't say no to this, So
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a difficult thing, is to get those photos with everybody together. I've just kind of,
yeah.
obviously it's the same I think for everybody listening, and I've just kind of become okay with like, well, I guess all the photos of me are just gonna be like selfies, from my
Right.
cell phone, and that's it. So
The worst angles to be remembered by at your
yeah,
funeral.
but photos at your funeral, right? Like we got to look at the bigger
Exactly.
picture here. So
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah.
Kind of
When it
dark
comes
there.
to a little bit, yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about the present, I guess. So when it comes to those
Yeah.
photos that you're taking of your son and your family and your life, I'm always interested to know like what do you do with those photos? Do they just live on your computer, or do you do something else with them?
Right now they live on our computer, but we just bought a house the last 6 months or so. So we're always planning a gallery wall and just building that out. We do have a yearbook from his first year, where we print out pictures every day from Instagram, and then we also print out pictures that we just remembered from that first year, just for memories. So.
What can I ask? What happened to the second year?
We just didn't print them out. So we still have them. So we're always talking about printing them out. The problem is a lot of times, like when you're trying to print out these bulk photos, 300, 500, whatever, 1,000 of them, it does get a bit expensive. And as parents of a 3-year-old, money is not something that comes very easy for us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, you got 2 kids, so you know exactly how it is. But yeah, no, it's something that's definitely on our plan. Like we always want to print them out. We always want to be able to show our friends and family, and even as he gets older, just show them like this used to be you, and
Yeah.
just look back on those. I think right now though we kind of fell in the trap of, oh, it's on Instagram or it's on our Google Photos. It's going to pop up every year, which is nice, look back at. But I'd rather have something that's more physical to touch.
Do you like the idea of the yearbook more than because I really like that idea for the gallery wall, or would you do both? What are your plans there?
The plan is to do both, honestly. Yeah. So we painted our wall black just to get ready for photos, to make them pop a little more and just make it look better. So yeah, it's definitely coming. So once that happens, I'll have to send you a picture, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. I
Yeah.
had a buddy in high school who painted a wall like chalkboard in his room, and I remember thinking like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because you can just
Right.
go in and now everything that's going to be on that wall is going to stand out, and I can imagine that. Yeah, those pictures are going to look great. That's going to be real cool. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
What inspires you?
Great question. Honestly, just being able to create and make art on its own. I think that's really what inspires me. So years and years and years ago, I used to play in a band, and we toured around the country for a little bit, and it was like my creative outlet. But as you get older, obviously, you don't make money playing music in bands, playing at dive bars once every couple weeks. So kind of lost that creativity there. And then once I started picking up the camera again, the creativity came back, and it's a license to just make art on your own.
So let me rephrase the question. Where do you find inspiration? Because I love that answer, but I think I was going for something a little bit deeper. Where do you find that inspiration from?
Where do I find my inspiration? Oh boy. One of the things I've taught myself with a camera is that everything around you can be something made into art. If you're walking downtown or through an alley, like look at it like you would through the lens of a camera, and just try to compose it like you normally would. And I think that's going to help you to really create more art that way, I guess, is the best way to put that.
So now that you've been shooting for a few years, do you find that you just get better at that over time?
I do. So it's really not good because even when I'm driving, I'll see like a scene. I'm like, oh, that would be awesome on my camera, but clearly I'm driving. I can't
Yeah.
take out my camera right now, or I don't even have my camera. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Like the craziest thing right now is when I go to work, when I go to the office, I go north, and from the freeway you can see the lake, you can see all like the tall buildings, and there's one spot where I'd love to get a shot from, but it's going to be kind of difficult to do that. But you can see the sun coming up over the buildings of Milwaukee and just outlines the entire skyline in just the sun. And it's really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the problem is the only way you can get that shot is being on a freeway.
You got to have your wife drive. You got to get ready. You got to be in the passenger seat, camera ready to go, and then grab that shot.
I think so. You know what? I'm going to tell her she's got to take off work to drive me to work every day until we get that one shot.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but that'll be the one.
Yeah.
That's going to be your cover photo. That's going to be your profile photo and everything. That's going to be on your business cards. It's going to be everywhere. That's awesome. I love
and then it'll still get 30 likes on Instagram.
Yeah. After you boost it. Yeah. For extra,
exactly. Yeah.
So I love again. I love seeing your growth in the group because looking at some of your earliest photos to where you are today. I really appreciate you being in the group. You've shared a lot. You've contributed a lot. And before this interview, I went to go look back at your first post within the group, and you posted a photo where you were just looking for some feedback. But you said this group seems like the best at not being a-holes for the sake of being a-holes.
Yep.
Can you tell me what you meant by that about other groups?
Yeah, I don't want to name drop any other groups, but there are some mean people out there. Like, if your photo isn't good, or if there's an issue with their photo, they will rip you apart, and for no reason at all. Like, people just want to be mean on the internet, and it's terrible. So when I found this group, I didn't post anything for like maybe the first week or two. I was like, nah, I've been burned before. I don't want to fall for this again. And I saw everybody, and I forgot, who was even there in the very beginning. But everyone was like just so happy about helping each other, and everybody just wanted to build each other up. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the courage and I'm gonna try this again. So then I posted the photo, and I'm pretty sure it was the Porsche
Yep.
that was
Red Porsche. Yep.
yeah, color selected, yeah, and it wasn't a good photo, but people were like, yeah, it's not great, but here's what I would do to fix it. And it's like, okay, well that wasn't so bad.
So being in these other groups, I mean, this is something that always interests me because, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I've been in other groups, people are jerks, and there's something about the beginner photography podcast community where, like, you're not going to find that. And I'd love to know, why do you think that is?
It's just the culture that's built there. I think it's between you and Kim as a moderator, and just the people who are there who want to help out. Like you can definitely see it, even like the new people. They just they just want help, and people want to help, and that's all it is. I think we've done a pretty good job at kicking people out who aren't there for that. And by good job, I mean like there's been one or two people in the few years I've been there. So it's just building that culture of honesty and trust that I think helps out a lot.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that helps you as a photographer? If you didn't find the group and all that you had to go through was endless groups of a-holes, where do you think your photography would be today?
I would have quit. I would have
Really?
quit long ago. Oh my god, yeah, yeah. Because you got to have confidence to be a photographer. Like no matter what you're doing, like you're putting something out there for everybody to look at and for everybody to say, hey, that's pretty good or that's not good. So you got to have confidence and you have to have thick skin. I think yeah, if I posted photos nonstop and it was just nonstop beatdowns, I would have definitely quit. I've quit at many things in my life, and I'm glad this is one of those things I did not.
Oh my gosh. I get it. You know, in the beginning, that's a hard thing. Is like it feels vulnerable to put your own photos, your own work, your own art, essentially, out into the world, and to get tough criticism is a very difficult thing. But you know, once again, I don't think that you're giving yourself enough credit. I think that you would have figured out a
Yeah,
way to make it work and to continue, especially you know with the birth of your son and wanting to keep taking photos that way. So come on, let's be honest.
yeah.
Would you have continued shooting?
Not the way I am now.
Okay,
I would have put my camera on the shelf, let it collect dust. I would just grab the cell phone and just take pictures of my son.
right. Every
That's
birthday and
yeah,
holiday and yeah.
yeah.
Oh
And
man.
don't get me wrong. Like when I say that, I have probably about 30,000 photos of my son on my phone, just from that cell phone, just because it's there, it's easy.
Of
And when you're
course.
trying to capture your moments, like we always say, the best camera that you own is the one that you have.
Hmm.
So especially if the photos are just for you and your family, like who cares what they look like? They're for you. Make them
Yeah.
good.
Make them good. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So now that you have this experience, right, and you broke through that barrier of a-holes and you gained that confidence and you are where you are today, is there anything that you wish that you would have known or learned sooner?
Um, Histogram.
The histogram.
I wish I would have learned how to use the histogram much sooner. So when I moved to the A7 III from the Canon T6, it was because I wanted to be able to see that live histogram, because I know that you can't just rely on your your light meter to give you the correct exposure. Your exposure is telling you. I'm sorry, your exposure is being told by the histogram,
Mhm.
and it's something I kind of learned maybe a few months ago. And I'm still learning it. Um, but had I not been so afraid to learn it, like I think I probably would have. But I would have been a little bit better off uh, much sooner.
How has it helped you in your shooting? Like, are you using it when you're shooting portraits, or is it out when you're doing more landscape stuff?
Kind of both. So I used to always just make sure like I had, the light meter was directly at zero, and now I'm kind of learning like, hey, this side of the histogram is your shadows, this side is your highlights, and in the middle that's your midtones, and you want to make sure that you've got those right where you want them to be, and that's going to be your exposure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then let me ask with the A7 III. Is that right? A7 III with the
Yeah.
A7 III. So you have a it's an electronic viewfinder. You
Mhm.
you see the exposure of the image that through the viewfinder, and then is there an overlay that you see of the histogram laid on top of that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you can overlay essentially anything that you want to
Mm-hmm.
through the viewfinder, which is great. Which is one of the main reasons I wanted to go to a mirrorless with the EVF. So yeah, you can look right down the viewfinder and just see anything you want to. The histogram overlay is great. It just kind of helps out that way.
Tell me about that transition that you made from the T6 to the A7 III, because I mean that's a massive jump. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was like driving a cardboard box to work and then hopping on a space shuttle with no training. I'm telling you, man, that the menu alone, it's insane. Like the T6 had like three options essentially. You're like, oh, I can figure this out. You throw on the menu for the A7 III, and it's like you're speaking French, and I only speak Spanish, and there's no way.
But
So
overall, how's the experience been as far as the growth of your photography? Is there as much of a noticeable change in your work as you were hoping for?
yeah, yeah. So the last I don't know year or so, I've been shooting more low light, and it's been a huge change for me. So I got like the Nifty 50 with the A7 III, and it, what it does in low light, just for like a crappy lens, it's insane. Like you can take nice clear photos. It's got in-body stabilization, so I can lower speed down like one. I want to say like 1/20th or like 1/100th, and it's still clear. It's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. So for anybody who's like thinking about upgrading from, crop sensor to a full frame, is there anything that you think that like maybe they should look out for? Was there any downsides to upgrading for you?
Um, for me, no, not really.
Mm-hmm.
I researched my purchases well before for several months, and I was like, this is exactly what I need. This is what I need to do. I guess the biggest thing I would say is know what you're looking for. Like, don't just make the jump because you feel like it's going to make you better. Know what you want. I knew I wanted the EVF. I knew I wanted a live view with the histogram. I knew that I wanted uh, better better low light shooting. So I knew exactly what I wanted. If you're just saying like, oh, I want to shoot full frame, why? Learn your stuff first, and then make that jump when the time is ready.
Mm-hmm. You were on the T6 for a while, right? You had that camera for quite a while. How long?
Uh, I had it for 3, 4 years, I want to say.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, you really. I remember looking at some of your photos and thinking to myself, "It's time for Jim to upgrade." Like he's
Yeah,
had this camera for quite a while, and I'm glad that
yeah,
you did make an upgrade to a camera that you're happy with, and seeing those photos that you're putting out, especially those ones of the what's it called, lighthouse, with the waves breaking and stuff.
oh yeah,
Absolutely beautiful. With a job, with a wife, with a kid, how do you make time for photography?
dude. I get up so early in the morning. So most of my work comes at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I work from 4 a.m. until I get my kid up for to go to his grandparents' house, which is about 6 o'clock or so in the morning. And then once my wife goes to bed around 8 o'clock, I'm usually up until 10 o'clock, 10:30, just plugging away, doing whatever I can.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're really passionate about something, you have to make time. No matter what you do, you absolutely have to make time, or else you're gonna lose that passion.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So in those hours from like 4 to 6 and from 8 to 10 or so, is that the time where you're out shooting, or is that where you're doing things to like build your business?
Um, a little bit of both. So the weekends, I might get up early for a sunrise session, about 4:30, 5 o'clock or so, and go out towards the beach or go downtown, or just kind of shoot whatever I can there. Because as you know, morning is really some of the best light, morning and
Yeah.
evening. I don't get to shoot very much evening right now because my kid is still awake. We're eating dinner, and obviously he comes first no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things kind of settle down, I can do my own thing. But yeah, weekends, man, I love going out and just shooting on the beach, getting that sunrise. We have we have a really cool setup here in Milwaukee where we can go down to the beach, get sunrise shots over the city. We can get it right over the lake coming up. It's probably some of my favorite moments that I take time for myself.
I love that. Such a good feeling. Tell me what the future holds for you in photography. Like, what is the view? Where do you see yourself in photography 5 years from now?
Honestly, as far as it'll take me, I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that I can make this a full-time gig. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, no, you gotta pay bills. You gotta make sure that the kid is okay. You gotta make sure the food's on the table. If I can do that with photography, I'm 150% in. Let's do it. I think that's kind of what I'm working towards. There's no timetable for that. If it happens tomorrow, great. If it happens 5 years from now, that's fine too.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man. Just again, seeing your progress, you keep plugging away at it every single day. You always, and I think what's cool to see about you is that like where a lot of other photographers are posting, like hey, let's book a session or something like that. You are posting things where it's like it's photos in your community. You're trying to
Yep.
build that community interaction. You're trying to make yourself known in the community so that when the time comes for that ask, it's going to be a whole lot easier. You're going to have that know, like, and trust factor,
Yeah.
that we talk about so much.
Yeah. I believe that was Ray Williams was her last name,
Ray
maybe.
Whitney. Yep.
Wow, Ray Whitney. Yeah.
So close. Yeah.
Okay, if anybody wants to get into the business of photography, listen to that podcast. She is amazing. Like I had no clue what I was getting into in that podcast. I listened to it 100 times over. That's such a great episode.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Did you have a major takeaway from that one?
Basically, it's make yourself vulnerable. So when she talked about putting your pillars out for everybody to see, like that hit huge because I work in the corporate office and everybody says, we got these pillars we got to live up to. We got this standard. And I'm like, this is just corporate jargon. And when I heard her say it and when I heard her story, it's like, wait a minute, people resonate with who you are. Like she's a lady of God. That's great. Like I may not be that person, but somebody else is. And they're gonna connect with her on that. I think that's awesome. Like she put herself out there. And again, you have to do that in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a personal business. It's that honestly, I mean, that's one of the hardest things for me to do. Like, still to this day, is, I just don't feel like a very public person. I hate spending time on my phone. I really don't like spending time on social media. If I'm on Facebook, like I'm in the group, because like that's the place where I want to be. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Like if you can do that, if you can be open, if you can be vulnerable, like you're gonna make it in this person based industry that we're in. That's so awesome.
Absolutely.
So I got one last question for you here before I let you go, and that is simply, what advice do you have anybody? If today, if there's a new Jim who's joining the group today, and this is their first thing that they're listening to, what's just one piece of advice that you would want to give to any new photographer just getting started in their journey?
Any new photographer, the first thing I'm going to tell you is listen, you're gonna be terrible first, but don't quit. I'm telling you right now, just keep it moving, keep learning, make your mistakes, fail 100 times if you have to. Do not quit, because at the end of it, it's so much better than you could ever imagine. I never thought I'd be out shooting with clients, and when I get done with a session, it's the best session I've ever had.
Every time, right? Isn't that such a crazy feeling?
Every single time. So one of the things that always sticks with me is you're always like, oh, today they're gonna find out I'm a fraud, and I get that same feeling every single time I go out there. But an hour later, when the session's done, I'm like, we're best friends now. Like we're gonna do this again. This is a great time. Let's go get a drink. It's fun.
And that, what, that's gonna happen to you forever. I promise. It is.
I hope so.
I think it's just a personality type thing. I'm not sure why that is, because I've chatted with other photographers and they're like I've just been doing this for so long, like this is how it works, and it's fine. And then other photographers are like, I've been doing it twice as long as that other person and I still feel butterflies every time before a session. So I totally get that. Hopefully we'll figure out one day how to get over that hurdle, because I really think that is something that holds a lot of photographers back, is that fear, of going out and having to make friends and hope that somebody likes you, and then be able to create something for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's crazy because like when we think about putting ourselves out there, like what's the first thing that people always do? It's they want to get into a photography community and show off their work to other photographers. And I learned pretty quickly, like, why? They're not
Right.
paying anything. Like they're not paying our bills. They're not booking us. Go into your Facebook communities. Like go to Chicago mom groups or Milwaukee, father son groups, and post your stuff there. Like make people sick of your work, so that way at some point they're like, oh hey, I want to get photo take with my son, or I want to remember this day with my daughter. This guy posts photos all the time. Let's talk to him. I'm telling you now, that's where I get 90% of my bookings. Is just something like that. It's free, it costs you nothing, and it's great. I love doing that.
But people don't want to put in the work. Like that's the thing,
Yeah.
You put in the work, you're gonna win. You're gonna
Yeah.
win.
Again, it's that YouTube generation. They see a 30-second clip on YouTube, like, well, this guy can do it, I can do it.
Right.
They don't want to do the work. They don't know what happens beyond that. So
Yeah, it's tough stuff, man. It's tough stuff. But again, I'm glad that you're sticking with. Oh, I didn't even ask you where people can find you online, Jim. If people are listening right now and they want to learn more about you, where can they find you online?
you can find me at charliejamesphoto.com. That's my official website. Or Facebook, Instagram. That's it. I don't do Twitter anymore. Facebook and Instagram at charliejamesphoto.
Thank you for listening to the Beginner Photography Podcast. If you enjoy the show, consider leaving a review in iTunes. Keep shooting, and we'll see you next week.